Good morning, children. This is Karan sir, and I welcome you all to the online portal of Scottish Public School. And today we are going to study History, Class 6, Chapter 1. So please open your book. Everybody go to the page number 1 as well as the chapter number 1. Class 6 SST, Chapter 1, which is Introducing History. Introducing History. What this means? This means we are going to have an introduction with the history. It means we are going to understand what is history, what it makes us understand, and what it has to say. So let's start. I hope you all are well and safe with your family, and let's start the chapter. So go to the page number 1, first chapter of history. Here in this chapter is given human past. What is human past? It means in the previous or the ancient time, how the people were there and what was the lifestyle of the people and which kind of events took place in the history or in the ancient times. Humans have different past. We use the terms past in plural because different groups of humans had different past life. It means the different human groups, it means it is trying to say that in past there were a few people who were farmers, who were herders, who were rulers, and some of them were craftsmen, and different sphere of their life they were. Some were kings, some were administrators, military men, while others were farmers, merchants, craftspeople, artisans, hunters, herders, etc. It means they were from a different group of people. There were many group of people, and each of them followed different practices, lifestyle, customs, and rituals. It means they used to practice the different lifestyle. Suppose the rulers or the kings had a different and the luxurious lifestyle. The farmers had a multiple lifestyle. The craftsmen, those who used to make some sort of crafts, they had a different set of lifestyle. So they had different customs. Customs means the rituals or the systems followed by a special group of people. And rituals, along with that, they had different religions. It means they used to worship the different gods, different form of gods. They also followed different religions, as I told you. Now, the question arises, what is history? History is the study of the events, people, their way of life in the past. It means it is the study which tells us about the past events. It means past events. Keep that in mind. What is history? It is the study of past events people and their way of life You have to keep in mind this definition. What is history? History is the study. So dear students, once again we can have a look at this. What is history? The simple definition of the history is the study of past events, people and their way of life. It means it is only the study of events that happened in the past, first thing, and how the people led their life in those days. This is what history tells us about. Okay. It tells us about past settlement, economy and society. It means it also tells us how the people were used to lead their life and how was the condition of the economy in those days and which kind of societies people used to have. It also tells us about the clothes people wore, their food habits and their occupations. It means which kind of clothes they used to wear, whether it was hand woven or a ready-made cloth or some different sort of cloth, and what kind of occupations they used to be engaged in. This is what history tells us about. The study of the past also helps us to understand the beliefs and the faith of the people in the past. It means what kind of faith, religious faith, it means which form of God they used to believe in and what kind of practices, religious practices they used to be engaged in. And from the life of a hunter-gatherer, what is hunter-gatherer? The person who hunt animals and gather foods are known as the hunter or gatherer. Okay, it is given here. The early humans began cultivating land and then slowly moved towards the modern lifestyle. It means previously, when we have studied in the previous classes, that the people started their life spending the lives into the caves, on the trees, and slowly and gradually they started developing a settlement near any sort of water body, a river, lake or something like that. So they started making small huts. Now they started living together in a community and they used to move from one place to another in search of food, better option to live, and slowly they understood that we people cannot survive in this way. So they started settling down at a particular place with the community. So what they did, they make their huts and houses near the rivers, they make the land cultivated, now gradually they come to know how to grow crops. So they started growing crops, they used to settle down at one place slowly, and this is how we have come so far that now we are living in the houses, very settled at a place. We are doing our occupations according to our qualities and skills. Now from those days to till today, people or the humans have developed a lot. They have gone to the different lifestyle altogether. Now the study of the history allows us to understand how and why such changes have taken place over a long period of time. It means the kind of life our ancestors used to live, we are not living the same kind of life today. So, why and how these changes have taken place, we have to understand that. Gradually, if you ask your father or your grandfather or many forefathers, they will tell you that in 50 years or 20 years back, the lifestyle and the society was not like this the way it is today. So there were different kind of similarities, those who are still persisting in our society, and in few matters or regarding few things, our society was different from what we have today. It means people used to travel by the horse carts or the bullock carts. Now we are traveling with motor cars or motor driven vehicles. But people used to use bullock carts or other sort of like very slow means of transportation. Now we are using better means of transportation. Similarly, in the field of communication, in the field of education, in the field of occupation, we have developed ourselves a lot. So, you can ask your father, or if you have your grandfather living with you, you can ask him. The days were very challenging in earlier 20 years, 30 years, or 40, 50 years back. Now our life has become very easier, very comfortable, but still people are looking for better options to make our lives more easier, comfortable, and very luxurious. Everybody is willing to have a good lifestyle, good house, good office, good occupation. Everybody loves to do that. But slowly, the way you are today, your coming generations will not like this sort of settlements. They will move to the more higher level of living standard. So, I hope you people are understanding my things and what I am trying to say, that the people have covered a long distance in terms of development from the history till today. Okay, now our past is divided into long stages of time or periods to make it easier to study. One of the most common division into history. It means the history is very long. It means you can say 1000 years ago, that was also history. 500 years ago was also a part of history. 2000 years ago, 3000 years ago, or 10,000 years ago, all are the parts of history. But to divide those things into very reasonable thing is the history is divided into three parts. You have to keep that in mind. That the prehistory, pro-history, and history. Now the question arises, what is prehistory, pro-history, and history? Let's understand one by one. So have a look at the board, try to understand the things which I am trying to explain. And if you have any sort of doubt, feel free to ask me from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the evening. So here we go. Prehistory. What are the three parts of history? First one is prehistory. Prehistory. Second one is pro-history. Third one is history. Now the question arises, what will be the definition of prehistory, pro-history, and history? Let's have a look one by one. Prehistory is the period for which there is no written records available. It means this was the period of the history where there was no technique of writing and keeping records was developed. We rely entirely on the archaeology to know about the lives and the history of the people living during this period. It means we doesn't have any sort of literary or a written record about those periods. That period is known as prehistory. We only have to depend on the kind of sources that were found in the archaeological excavations, and those are the only resources that provide a little bit of information about those periods. Archaeologists explore, excavate, and study the remains to understand the history of prehistoric people and civilization. It means we have only this much sources to know about those periods. Now, pro-history. Pro-history is the period for which we find some written records, but they are few or yet to be discovered or understood completely. It means very few written records are available for the which period? For pro-history period. For prehistory, there is nothing written. For pro-history, something is written, but in which language they were written, that still is a matter of research. Still, people are not understanding what was written there, in which language was used there. To be deciphered, it means people have not understood what was written there. So, for example, the history of Indus Valley civilization falls under this period. We have not been able to decipher the script of this period yet. It means the information that we have gathered from the excavations or the exploring from the that archaeologists have provided us, still we have not deciphered. It means we are unable to understand what was written there. Now it comes to history. History is the period for which we have been able to decipher the written records of the past. It means we have written records, and whatever is written there, we are able to understand that clearly. We have deciphered that. It means we have made that simple to understand. And many of these records are found on the rocks, clays, barks of the bird. They provide important information regarding this period. It means history is the period for which we have a lot of information, sources of information are available, and the kind of sources and the kind of information is given there, we people are able to understand that. So you have to write down the homework in your rough copy, and you have to do it in your rough copy, send it in the group so that I can check it. You have to write down the definition of these three periods and remember that. Write and remember. These three things you have to do. Till then, bye bye. Tomorrow we will take this chapter ahead. Thank you so much.